us all day long and you're still going to be a fucking retard.
Democrat Robinson solicited campaign contributions through advertising in newspapers from coast to coast, stirring up interest by calling me a practicing anti-Semite who is one of the worst enemies that Israel have ever faced in the history of the U.S. Congress. He drew funds from each of the 50 states. In all, the campaign cost $1.2 million, the most expensive in Illinois history. We each spent about $600,000. University students from New York and California, as well as other states, came to Central Illinois to staff Robinson's phone banks and handle other campaign chores. Dirty tricks dogged me even when I wasn't campaigning and away from my district. The Chicago Council on Foreign Relations asked me to speak on foreign policy, and midway through my lecture on foreign policy one evening in Chicago, a man shouted from a doorway, "We've received a call. There's a bomb in the room." The crowd of 500 made a fast exit. The police later found a pipe loaded with bubble gum placed in the grand piano on the stage. Later, Robinson activists drove all the way to Detroit, Michigan, where I was a delegate to the Republican convention, to picket and to amuse onlookers with the chant, "Paul, Paul, he must go. He supports the PLO."
They're calling him bomb threats. They're raising millions of dollars. They're having around the country come in and run the phone banks for his opponent. It becomes the most expensive race in Illinois history. And this is a guy who checks all the boxes. This is the exact kind of a guy that you would think want. This is the guy that has supported civil rights. This is the guy that supported desegregation. This was the good guy that was doing all the things. He was doing all the things that supported. He was a social justice warrior. He said so himself. But then he said Israel maybe shouldn't be genociding the Palestinians. And he became enemy number one. Didn't matter who you were. And they had their tentacles everywhere. Everywhere. Places you wouldn't even expect. Or you might expect. Reagan. Zionist Reagan. As soon as he found out that AIPAC didn't like Findlay, he ran the other way. He abandoned him instantly.
At first, my plight escaped the attention of the Reagan presidential campaign. In fact, when his scheduling office learned that I was having a fundraising luncheon in Springfield, his manager asked if Reagan could stop by, since he would be nearby that day. That unsolicited warmth quickly chilled. When he was scheduled to visit Illinois, New York City organizers warned Reagan's managers, warning, "Appear friendly with Findlay and you lose New York." This led them to take unusual measures to keep their candidate a safe distance from me. Reagan's manager passed an order quietly, or so they thought, whispering. Under no circumstance is Findlay to get near Reagan, even though elsewhere in Illinois, congressional candidates were to appear on speaking platforms with him. Learning of the order, my manager, Don Norton, vented his outrage to Reagan headquarters. The Reagan team shifted gears again. This time they declared that all congressmen were to be treated alike during the day in Illinois. None was to share the speaking platform with Reagan. Congressman Ed Madigan, irritated when told he must either speak before Reagan's arrival in Bloomington that day or wait until Reagan had left the platform, made no speech at all. At Springfield, Reagan campaign staffer Paul Russo had only one assignment, but it was an important one. He was to keep me out of camera range when Reagan was nearby. I was literally corralled behind a rope 50 feet away while Reagan was photographed in the ceremonial rubbing Lincoln's nose on a statue at the tomb entrance. At the next stop, a coal mine near Springfield, Russo's team tried to keep me on a bus, and in the process trapped my friend, Senator Charles H. Percy, too. The purpose was to keep only me away from Reagan during his remarks to the crowd.
So Reagan couldn't even be photographed with this guy. The message had gone out. This guy is poison. Even Bob Hope. Bob Hope, who he had Finley had a relationship with, he had arranged for a birthday celebration in the House chambers for Bob Hope some years before. And Bob Hope, who was a outspoken Republican, would often do, he was a popular guy. Most people, younger people probably don't know who he is. He was a popular comedian, but a lot of World War II vets knew him because he worked with the, the USO or whatever the organization that would put on entertainment for the troops. And so he was a very well-liked, very popular American comedian at the time. And so having him at an event was going to raise a lot of money. And, you could charge, that's how you could raise campaign money, is say, hey, we're going to have dinner with Bob Hope. And then all the rich people would pay for a table at this dinner. And then Bob Hope got the call.
The panic even spread to Hollywood. Bob Hope, who never wavered under enemy fire on war fronts in World War II and Korea and withstood heavy criticism for his support of President Nixon's Vietnam policies, encountered a new and more devastating line of fire when he agreed to appear at a fundraising event for me in Springfield. 10 years earlier, I had organized a 75th birthday party for Hope in the House of Representatives. It was the most fun-filled moment in the House I can remember. Hope and his wife sat in the gallery as one congressman after another voiced their praise of the great entertainer. The tributes filled 14 pages of the congressional record. Gratefully recalling the unique party, Hope agreed to help in my 1980 campaign. His manager, Ward Grant, knowing from the start that I was being opposed by pro-Israel activists because of my work on Middle East policy, declared, "We need men in Congress who speak their mind." Coast-to-coast pressure quickly brought a change. Don Norton recalls an urgent telephone message he received from Hope's manager. Grant told me that Hope was getting tremendous pressure from and Jews all over the country. He said it's gone to the point where Hope's lawyer of 35 years, who is has threatened to quit. The pressure was beyond belief, like nothing they had ever experienced before, and Hope just couldn't come.
So even then, there's the racial element that he doesn't seem to be putting together. Even Bob Hope's lawyer of 35 years, who was threatened to quit if he went and did a dinner with this guy. And Bob Hope acquiesced. Because that same racial solidarity that lawyer of Bob Hope's had, Bob Hope didn't have.